Join as they come. All right. So welcome, everyone. Welcome back. This is the second talk in a series on mindfulness and sexual functioning. My name is Kimberly Kaiser. I'm a sex therapist and EMDR trauma therapist and licensed counselor. If you didn't attend our first talk on mindfulness of body sensations and sexual functioning, I'd encourage you to find that on our website. It's free for download. So these talks are part of a 4-part series on mindfulness of breath, body, thoughts, emotions, as it relates to sexual functioning. And the foundational practices of mindfulness are on breath, body, thoughts, and emotions. And so this webinar series have been kind of sculpted to center around how that affects and relates to sexual functioning. So research shows a clear correlation
Camera quit doing this too.
or connection between and I'm just going to mute anybody that comes on by accident. So don't worry if you see me mute you. So research shows a clear correlation between mindfulness and sexual functioning. That means the more in the moment you are during sexual activity, the higher level of sexual arousal and response that you'll have. So mindfulness is really a powerful way of working with sexual distress and sexual dysfunction, but also just a way to enhance sexual functioning in general for people that necessarily don't have distress or dysfunction. So in addition to this 4-part webinar series, Mended, the course company, provides a mini course that'll go deeper into the concepts that we're going to talk about today. It'll give you more information on cognitive distortions, that's distorted thinking and thought processes and how they can be transformed into rational thoughts. And then understanding some terms that you may not have heard of, which are sexual concordance and interoceptive awareness, and what those have to do with sexual functioning. So the mini course also has 5 guided meditations that you can use over and over again. It has journaling reflection questions, worksheets to better integrate and support the material that you're learning into your unique situation and reason for being here. So today in this webinar, we're going to look at the nature of thinking in general, what mindfulness of thought is, how that relates to sexual functioning, and then we will do just a short guided mindfulness of thoughts meditation, specifically related to sexuality and your body. And if we have time, we'll do a Q&A. I'm hoping this will go about probably 45 minutes. And so we do have some time for a Q&A. So most people live their lives within with the thoughts in their mind as if they were really reality. There's an ongoing commentary of yourself, others, the world around you, that can be filled with fears, judgments, anxieties, and striving in all forms. And thoughts really can take on a life of their own, becoming synonymous with reality. So what you think about the world becomes what the world is. But what is actually true is that reality is what we observe. And when we use mindful attention, which is a skill that everyone has access to and can be cultivated, when we use mindful attention as a tool in which to have a relationship with reality as it occurs, rather than the interpretations from the commentary of our minds, we have a tool that enables us to have less distress. Also, the types of thoughts we have impact and shape the physical sensations and emotions that we have. That's why last month we did a talk on body sensations and mindfulness. So when we have thoughts that are based on fear and anxiety and they occur on repeat, this has the effect of increasing our physical sensations and emotions of fear and anxiety. And because sex is something that happens in the body, anything that alters physical sensations in the body has a potential to alter sexual functioning. When these thoughts become habitual and have more of a regular occurrence in some part of our external reality, specifically in this webinar talking about sex or sexual intimate connections, that negative thinking and experience can become a more fixed experience in that aspect of our lives. For example, if you dread having anxiety about, if you have anxiety and dread about sexual intimacy with a partner, you can have associated thoughts of, I'm a failure or I'm not safe. Then sex becomes a place of feeling like a failure or of not being safe, with those same negative feelings connected to the thoughts. On the other hand, sex or our thinking and our intellect are very powerful tools. They're not only necessary for survival, but they're also delightful. I myself love living a life of the mind, a creative life, and our ability to create new ideas fuels innovation and progression. So delighting in this world of fantasy, even sexual fantasy, dreams, it can be delicious. So some level in addition to that, some level of intellectualism is also useful as a defense mechanism. And I often use the intellect as a defense mechanism in counseling people. Intellectualizing allows us to slow down and make sense of complex inner processes and to aid in communicating them. So thoughts can be useful for the greater good as well. So knowing how to use thoughts, having personal control and mastery over thoughts and feelings, and feeling some freedom from our thoughts is the key to really having a good relationship with the power of our thoughts. So as a therapist, most people come in with some distortion of thinking, and it occurs not just in the therapy world, but in life, as we can see. And when over time of learning how to work with the worried mind and distorted thinking and runaway consuming thoughts and how those can be learned to be managed and back in control, people will often ask me, well, now what? What do I do now? And really the answer is whatever you want. So when we become released from suffering, we really open up to a world where the possibilities are endless. If the mind can create so many destructive thoughts that lead to suffering, imagine what it can create when it is open to conjure up possibilities. So, and what those possibilities feel like in our bodies and in our emotions. So when I start working with clients using mindfulness, who are lost in thoughts of suffering as if it were reality, I ask them to start to picture the thoughts in their mind as if they were objects outside the window of a train, just letting the train move onward, watching the thoughts like clouds, trees, fence line, buildings, people, just watching, naming, letting them pass by, observing what they can see, and just letting them pass by. And this is what we do when we're mindful of thoughts. We come from an observer part of our mind and we just watch thoughts pass by. So thoughts often occur through our experience, meaning that what we're thinking about, and when we're thinking about something, it often feels as if it's actually happening. So in developing mindfulness of thoughts, we're able to create the space between ourselves and the thought. This is an experiential process. It's useful to understand as a concept, but what's most helpful is to actually experience it. And that's what we do when we practice meditation. So experiencing it occurs through what we can observe, a thought, and label it in our mind as kind of thinking or thoughts. And when we do this, we're simultaneously the observer and the thought. We're the observer noticing the thought, And it is in this time that we're not our thoughts, but we observe that our thoughts are part of us. And this is essentially mindfulness of thoughts. So if you find that you're distracted by wandering thoughts, you simply label distraction, distraction. And this will make sense when we do our meditation. Or if you notice that you're judging your thoughts, you label judging, judging. Like if you're saying, I'm not doing it right, or I don't get it. And then you come back to the breath. So the more you come back to the breath, and we'll be doing this in our meditation, and you label the nature of your thoughts, you will notice that you have a growing sense of space between you and your thoughts, a space that you have room to move in and separate from your thoughts. And if this doesn't come easy for you, which it's never come easy for anyone that I know at first, that's perfectly fine, because mindfulness takes a lot of practice. If you find that you're paralyzed or flooded by the contents of your thoughts, for example, you're re-experiencing some past trauma, or you have thoughts or memories or sensations that you can't control or that feel out of control, then I'd encourage you to take a break and seek professional guidance and support, because sometimes you need to prepare for mindfulness before you actually start doing it. You need to work with a professional, to work on trauma work, to widen your window of tolerance before it's safe enough to engage with the content of your thoughts. So one aspect of mindfulness is being really in the present moment. So many thoughts exist in the future. We're thinking about what we want to happen, what we fear will happen. Similarly, many thoughts exist in the past. We're reliving events that happened in the past. So mindfulness offers a way, and by the way, everything I'm saying applies to what happens during sex, right? So mindfulness offers us a way to observe the contents of our thoughts and see that when we're thinking of the future or the past, we're not really in the present with what's happening now. When we observe the contents of our thoughts, moment by moment, we're fully present in the moment. And you'll see how that's very relevant to sexual functioning. So Tara Brock, who's one of my mentors and teachers, has this quote, "Thoughts are real, but not true." So insight happens when we observe our thoughts and enter into a state of mindfulness. When we observe our thoughts and the nature of our thinking, we can see that while we have a thought, it's just that. It's a product of the thinking mind, which makes it real, but not something that's actually occurring outside of the mind. So it's not a true representation of reality. So don't believe everything that you think. So how does this apply to sex? So as we learned in our last webinar on mindfulness of emotion, the nature of our emotions and how mindful of them we are can impact sexual arousal and response. Similarly, the types of thoughts we have and how mindful of them we are can work against the sexual arousal and response process that just unfolds naturally as our bodies are designed. So today we're going to be talking about some forms of thinking that have been found to conflict with healthy sexual functioning. And these are sexual self-schemas. So these are some psychological terms I'm going to explain to you. Dysfunctional sexual beliefs, automatic thoughts, and cognitive distraction. And I'll explain these and give some real world examples, and also share just a brief case presentation. So Aaron Beck was a clinical psychologist. He's passed away, that defined schemas as a core belief about the world developed early in life. And these core beliefs can produce positive or negative perceptions of the world. And it's been shown that people that have schemas about sexuality um, can have schemas about sexuality and who they are as a sexual person. And it's always been interesting for me to observe how clients describe their own attractiveness as a sexual person, and where these core beliefs about how attractive they are come from. This is just an example, because I've heard people say, people who are objectively, probably average in attractiveness report feeling incredibly sexy and beautiful, and that just radiated and almost improved their feelings of attractiveness and connection to other people, while individuals whose physical attributes would be considered stereotypically beautiful report seeing themselves as ugly or lacking in some way. So these, again, internal kind of ways of seeing themselves in the world. And research has shown that individuals who have negative sexual schemas, or these core beliefs about the world, have lower interest in sex, they have fewer sexual fantasies, they have lower levels of sexual arousal, and are more likely to have sexual dysfunctions. Beliefs are the result of previous experiences and early life experiences. So beliefs about sex are developed through education. And we know that most people are educated through peers or pornography. Very few people receive accurate sex positive education. So beliefs can come from social influences, past sexual experiences, and dysfunctional sexual beliefs often activate these maladaptive schemas, or these negative core beliefs about sex. So dysfunctional beliefs occur in a lot of individuals who experience sexual distress and sexual dysfunction. This is well documented, well known. I see it very often in my work as a sex therapist. An example, if a man has this belief, I won't stay hard, or I can't stay hard, or I'm afraid I won't stay hard, or a man or a woman has this belief, sex is going to hurt. These often lead to schemas or core beliefs such as, I'm afraid I won't stay hard, therefore I'm a failure sexually, or it's going to hurt to have sex, therefore sex is not enjoyable. So you can see how this builds from early life experiences and early sex education in any form through ongoing adult interactions and experiences, and it can kind of compound over time to this like core belief, these core schemas and dysfunctional beliefs about sex, and then how that can enter into a sexual dynamic. And if this is you and this is your experience, then you can probably relate to what I'm saying. So some negative thoughts occur automatically in sexual situations and lead to negative emotions. And these types of negative thoughts can be thoughts about yourself, your partner, thoughts about the relationship. For example, if a woman has the automatic negative thought about her body, I'm fat, or a man has a negative automatic thought about performance, I can't stop myself from coming, or an individual has a negative thought about their partner, they're going to leave me, and these like automatic thoughts come, they're more likely to have a disruption and be distracted by the thoughts, which will then take them out of their bodies. And then that'll interrupt and disrupt the sexual arousal and response process, leading to more negative emotions, specifically anxiety. And negative automatic thoughts are perhaps most acute in individuals who have a history of childhood abuse or neglect. It's often thought that sexual abuse is the most common reason that people might have this, but the literature often shows things like physical neglect and emotional neglect have some of the most negative impacts on adults as they age in all areas of health, including pain disorders, chronic pain, psychosomatic conditions, and sexual dysfunctions. And in the worst, I think, or the most impacted individuals, these negative thoughts and emotions can kind of have a re-experiencing of post-traumatic stress or PTSD. So as you can imagine, having this negative worldview associated with negative beliefs and negative automatic thoughts about sex can really hijack a sexual experience. And research has shown that individuals who have this constellation of negative thoughts and underlying beliefs tend to focus on them rather than the sexual cues, for example, sensations of pleasure. So if you're in a sexual situation and there could be sensations of pleasure, when you get kind of sidelined or sidetracked by a negative thought, your attention is going to go there and off the pleasure. And when that happens, then it'll disrupt. You won't have this building of sexual arousal and response. So these thoughts are a distraction from the body's negative or the body's natural response to sexual situations and stimulation. And when you focus on thoughts related to performance or fear, you'll be less likely to be present in the moment. So rather than being mindful of what's occurring in the sexual experience, you enter into what's called the spectatoring, or you're looking at it from a distance. So again, you're lost in the thought and you're in this stream of thoughts that are providing this negative commentary on what's occurring. And again, there's this disruption that can lead to symptoms of sexual dysfunction. So one of my clients, and I changed the name, I'll just call her Jessica, explained, and by the way, some of these case vignettes I share you won't relate to at all, and others you may relate to, but I like to share them because it makes what I'm saying become more realistic and easier to relate to. So one of my clients, Jessica, explained that during masturbation, she has to either watch porn or think of something other than what's happening in her body. So with partner sex, she's always focused on her partner, not on her. And she feels very distracted and gets really frustrated, especially even angry when she can't orgasm. As a heterosexual woman, she'll watch lesbian porn to get turned on, but she'll think about how the women in the films are more attractive than her. And she's regularly flooded by these negative thoughts during partner sex and masturbation that I'm not attractive, I hate that I can't have orgasms, I don't want to focus on my body. And these thoughts really maintain her disrupted sexual arousal and response to the point where she then can't just have this flow to an orgasm. So another piece of research that really I think is interesting and illustrates this point is that researchers showed that heterosexual men with and without, researchers showed heterosexual men with and without a sexual dysfunction, a film of a highly aroused woman, and then another film of a woman who was not sexually aroused. And the men with a sexual dysfunction were less likely to be aroused by the woman who was highly sexually aroused because they were distracted about their concerns on performance. So if you can kind of think about that, men in the research saw a highly aroused woman, but if they had a sexual dysfunction, they weren't able to become as aroused. So again, you see that distraction. So let's practice. So we're going to do a short guided meditation on mindfulness of thoughts, and you can participate or not. You can just sit through it. It's going to be short. I just wanted to give you a little idea of what this might look like. I also wanted to have something recorded you can go back and use in a sexual situation, because obviously we're not doing that here. So we're going to focus on mindfulness of thoughts as it relates to the body. And to facilitate this, I'd like you to choose an intimate or a sexual situation that fits what you're currently exploring making progress in. So in something that's been you've been struggling with it as it relates to sexual intimacy or functioning, and don't choose the most difficult thing, so something related to trauma or something like that. Choose something that's meaningful, but not the hardest thing in the world. So you can, in your mind, just kind of think of something, a sexual situation. It could be something like holding a partner or masturbating or taking a shower and feeling my body, something where negative thoughts might have shown up for you in the past. It could even be something like having intercourse, whatever you want to choose. And I'm going to guide you through a body scan as you kind of visualize yourself in this situation. And I want you to notice what's there. Name the thinking or the thought, and I'll guide you through that. And when you notice it, just see if maybe you're not as identified with it, that it's just something that you notice. And when it comes to negative thoughts on sex in your body, just name the thought, like fear of failure, judging, inadequate, or it could be positive thoughts as well. So whatever's there. And as you do that, see if you can notice a space you create between the name between the thought and yourself. So this is called mindful awareness. I'm aware this thought is occurring. And once you have mindful awareness, open up the space between yourself and the thought and just relax into it. So initially, this will probably be hard to do, but as you practice, the idea is that the thoughts might be there for a while. They might be there ongoing, but you can actually, over time, experience sexual arousal and response, even if the thoughts are there. That's the idea. We're creating space for both. So sense and pause the qualities of the space in that moment. Notice the sensations in the body, and then come back to the breath. If the thoughts come back in, just gently repeat, pause, open back up again. So continue to notice the difference between the thoughts and experiences, moving between being in the thought, being in the experience of the thought, being in the experience of the present moment, all as it relates to this sexual situation that you've chosen. So, outside of this meditation activity, like during sexual activity, this will be the space that you've created where you can focus on sensations of sexual arousal and pleasure. So even if they're very small in the beginning, and maybe it's just a little trailhead, you can start to notice on it. And as you continue to create that space, notice the thoughts again passing by, but don't get too connected to them. So just keep breathing into the body and allow the sensations of pleasure and arousal to unfold and increase. So I think this is the key that a lot of people maybe don't understand about the body's natural sexual and response process, sexual arousal and response process, is that the more you're able to focus on it, the more you get aroused. So that's why we're holding the thoughts at a distance, we're making space for them, we're not resisting them, and then we're just tuning back into the body, and then you can see what happens. So with that, I'm going to just transition into a brief meditation. And we'll do maybe, I don't know, 5-7 minutes or something. So I invite you, I'll close my eyes with you. And we're just going to do a little body scan. And then we'll come back and have a little bit of Q&A. All right. So you can start by just closing your eyes, or just maybe a downward gaze, whatever you're comfortable with, and sitting upright in a comfortable position. And just start by taking some deep breaths. Just turning your attention inward. And you may notice wherever you're at, if there's sounds or distractions, or maybe you're feeling distracted or anxious, if it's hard to focus, or maybe you're sleepy after a long day of working. Just give yourself just a few breaths to try to focus inward. You can notice any emotions present. You can label those. You can notice any body sensations. Label those. And with every exhale, just see if you can create just a bigger field of space around you where everything you notice is welcome to be there. And as you enter into this space of mindfulness, I want you to bring to mind whatever situation you chose to work with. If it's maybe as simple as just laying in your bed, it could be something more sensual or sexual with yourself. It could be a partner activity, maybe something that produces like mild distress or negative thinking. And just wherever you're comfortable landing, just bring that situation to mind. And just take a few moments to just notice what happens for you when you do that. Notice any immediate body sensations or emotions. Just notice any thoughts that initially come to mind as you feel yourself in that situation. And just continue to breathe. The breath is very soothing for the nervous system. And we're just going to do a brief body scan. And as you scan your body in that situation, I want you to notice the nature of your thinking and just label it and make space for it. And see if you can experience your body as being separate from the thought. So we'll just start. You can feel your feet and your toes. Just focus on moving up through the ankles and the calves. And just notice any thoughts that come to mind. Continuing to breathe. Coming up through the knees, into the tops of your legs, your quadriceps, your hamstrings. If you're in a physical sensation or place in your mind of being with a partner, you can just feel the sensations through your own visualization. Notice the thoughts. If you're having lots of thoughts, you can just label thinking. If there's specific thoughts, you can label the nature of the thoughts. not resisting, just acknowledging and just accepting with that mindful awareness. Still seeing yourself in that situation, that context that you chose with your sexual body, moving up through the pelvic floor to your genitals, your hips, your abdomen. Just focus on that area. And just notice any thoughts that arise. Many negative thoughts when people have sexual distress tend to center around the typical sexual parts of our body, like our breasts, our genitals, our necks, our chest. So if you notice more reaction or sensation or thinking, just be present with labeling intensity, intensity. If you notice sensations of pleasure, just notice that. And with either a negative thought or positive thoughts, notice what that does to the experience, sexual sensations in the body. Moving up into the chest, the underarms, the back, mindfully breathing. Just noticing thoughts. Down through the shoulders and the arms, the hands, wherever the hands are touching, if they're on your thighs or touching some other part of your body, you can notice thoughts you have around sensations of heat or texture. Focusing on neck, muscles, the tissue, up through the back of the head, the ears. Just mindfully breathing. Noticing automatic thoughts. And finally, the face, eyes, the lips, cheekbones, all these tender parts. Just breathing. It's a space you've created. Just being with any thoughts that are there. Just maybe hovering around you like clouds or seeing them pass by on our train. Just being present. Seeing if you can feel a deeper connection to your body, not being so entangled in the thoughts. And with that sense of embodiment, you can slowly open your eyes and start to maybe move your body. And you can come back into this space with me, taking yourself out of that mental space where you put yourself with someone else or in a sexual situation. And we have a couple minutes for any questions. So if you'd like to ask a question, you can turn your camera on if you're comfortable, or if not, you can put it in chat. So I'll just give a few moments for people to ask any questions. Okay. Well, I'd like to thank everyone who attended. It's a real pleasure to be able to share this knowledge and this powerful tool with people. I would look forward to hearing from many of you again. You can contact me at any time if you have questions. You can watch this recording again. Again, you can go to the website to download this or any other free webinars, or look at our mini course if you want to dig deeper. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you soon. All right. Good night, everyone.